I was about 18 or so, and I was homeless, sleeping on the streets. That was the moment where it was like, okay, cool. I'm in this situation right now, but things can only get better from here.
Peter Komolafe is one of the most trusted financial voices in the UK, a qualified advisor who went from homelessness and foster care to becoming a nationally recognised expert on Channel 4, ITV and the BBC. Through his platform, Conversation of Money, he's helped thousands rethink their relationship with money, discipline and financial freedom. Today, he's redefining what real financial education looks like, grounded in integrity, experience and the belief that wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank.
At the end of the day, you can have a £20,000 a month income. If you're spending it all, you're broke. If you can't regulate the emotional, psychological side, I think it's a losing battle, because you can make a load of money, but how are you going to control how you feel?
Because everybody's talking about there's a crisis coming, there's a bubble and all of that, but there's always winners in the crisis.
Exactly.
Welcome to the OGs. Today we have an amazing guest, Mr. Peter Komolafe.
Yes.
So Peter is ex-financial advisor,
Yep.
ex-rapper,
Yes.
now content creator,
Yep.
and also you are helping a lot of people to transition from the UK to the UAE.
Mm-hmm.
We're very happy to have you here. Of
Thanks for
course,
inviting.
this is powered by Pepperstone, and that's how we connect through Pepperstone, through
Yes, that's
Simona.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's start with Peter. Peter, you come from a quite challenging background.
Mm-hmm.
So foster home, homeless, right? And now to become one of the most respectable UK voices in money. That's a big statement, right?
Yeah.
So what was that moment, that exact moment when everything clicks and say, I cannot carry on living like this. I need to transform my life.
Okay, really good question. Was there an exact moment? Probably when I got back to the UK from Nigeria. I was about 18 or so, and I was homeless, sleeping on the streets in a place called Hastings, East Sussex.
How old were you?
I was about 18, 19 at the time.
Wow.
And I remember during that period of time, like in October, November, it's cold in the
yes.
UK. It's raining, it's just not nice. And because I was sleeping on the streets, I remember trying to find warmth in the middle of the night. And on the seafront, because it's a seafront town, you have all these houses, and when they have their windows open with lights on, you can see people inside. And I remember like looking inside those houses thinking, okay, I need security, and I need to make sure that I have security. Even till today, my biggest fear is being homeless.
Wow.
And not having that security. I think that was the moment where it was like, okay, cool. I'm in this situation right now, but things can only get better from here. So just putting my head down and making sure that I could work and control what I can control to ensure that I can better my situation as much as possible.
Wow. So you saw the vision was seeing these people inside the houses having comfortable life or normal life, let's say.
Normal life, yeah.
Normal life, getting shelter, getting hot food,
Hot food, yeah.
and just being warm.
Yeah.
That's something we take it for granted everywhere, right? People
Yeah.
take it for granted that we have all the luxury, I would say, all the comfortable stuff, but it's not for everybody. Now, let's go back. Your childhood wasn't just difficult; it was unpredictable. Nobody could predict that. So, do you think that being unstable actually trained you for the volatile of life, money, and markets?
It definitely trained me for the volatility of life, for sure, because I've seen the ups and downs.
Yeah.
So my parents are Nigerian. I went to Nigeria for 10 years when I was 18, when I was 8 years old. I came back to the UK when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
So I saw the UK from, being a kid to 8 years old,
being
going
an
to
adult.
Nigeria, then all of a sudden realizing that having electricity isn't a normal thing. Like you can turn on the switch and the power comes on, or you can just, turn on the tap and water comes out. I then started to see life from a very, very different point of view. And so it definitely prepared me for life. For money, no, because we had no money. And I didn't understand how money worked, what to use it for, even how to manage money.
Yeah.
I was predominantly homeless because I got my first job at 18 in the UK. And because I didn't have any money, never had my own money up until that point, when I got paid, I just spent it. I didn't realize I had to budget, pay rent.
Okay.
So I couldn't pay rent.
But this will happen to a lot of us.
It doesn't happen to a lot of us, but that was a very, very harsh lesson. But I didn't understand money at all. And then markets, I didn't understand about I didn't start to learn about the markets until I was like 30, 32.
Wow.
So, and that was only because I was working for a company in Canary Wharf at the time.
Very,
So
yeah.
very, very late in life.
Yeah, wow. So you mentioned something about in Nigeria that happened a lot also in Africa and happened in Colombia as well. One of the main reasons why I started into, let's say, into crypto myself is because I saw the Bitcoin paper, I read it, but then the first case of a study that I saw that wasn't attached to blockchain or Bitcoin, it was the M-Pesa. I think it was in Kenya, Uganda, I can't remember. So M-Pesa is a company, I know it's shouting that down, it's just a story, that people go with their phones to somewhere like a 7-Eleven, top it up their electricity with cash, they send an SMS, and then they go back home and just top it up the electricity. So that blew my mind because when I come from in Colombia, in the mountain, my grandma, that's how they used to do it. They had to go somewhere and pay. And it's fascinating how we take everything for granted.
Yeah.
But now when you see all these countries in development, it's something that's luxurious sometimes, having electricity.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something very is quite emotional for me because when I moved to the UK when I was 24, I didn't know how to budget, like you say, right? So I moved there with £300 in my pocket, with no connection, no English. I didn't speak anything. So and I had 1 month to live, right? And I remember I didn't have a job like for 3 months. And I remember one night I didn't have any money. So I was eating noodles, like back then it was 19p noodles in Lidl.
Yeah.
And then I ran out of money, and then I only had one sneaker to eat one day. Obviously, I have house. It was nice. I was living with a host family, whatever, but they didn't give me food, right? And then I was so starving the next day, and I was walking home from school, and it was winter, October again. And then I didn't know what to do because I was in a new country. I was shy, or probably was like proud. And I was walking in Charmy Stairs in Bournemouth. And this guy actually from Saudi called me and said, Andres, come. I said, what? You want a shawarma? So that, my first friend in the UK, it was a Middle East guy. And he feed me for 1 week. Ahmed, shout out to you, you're still around.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you went to the UK with £300. That's very, very similar to me because my parents put me on a flight from Nigeria with a suitcase with £50. So like, there you go. And, because I was fostered between 3 months and 8 years old. When I went to Nigeria, my foster parents didn't know that I was leaving. They thought I was going for a 2-week holiday in London. And they found out 3 months later on that I was in Nigeria, didn't hear from me for 10 years. So when my parents put me back on the plane, they gave me £50 and said, go find your foster parents. And they gave me £50.
And did you find them?
Lucky they still lived at the same place and they took me in.
Oh, wow.
Very, very lucky.
And do you still talk to them? Yeah.
Here and there. I mean, my foster dad is still here. I don't have the best relationship with them, but yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about the past. I know we're talking about the past, now we're talking about the future, but many people let their past define them, right? Now, you use yours as fuel, right? A fuel to become a better version of yourself. What belief did you have to kill first before you could start winning? Because we have so many beliefs that make us weaker. What belief do you have to kill first?
I think for me, I say this often, I had to really convince myself that I don't have to be a byproduct of my environment.
Okay.
Because oftentimes when kids come from a disadvantaged background, you think that has to be your reality. That's where you have to stay because everyone around you stays there. I had to kill that. I had to get rid of that very, very quickly. I think one of the benefits that I have from being in Nigeria for 10 years is that my parents, my dad in particular, was very, very studious. He studied. Like at 50, he would do a master's degree. It's crazy.
Yeah, but Nigeria is normal, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's to a PhD, master degrees.
Yeah, 100%. And so that sense of hard work, and again, seeing two sides of the coin. Like in the Western world, you have electricity, you have water opportunity. In Nigeria, there's not any opportunity. So it's like you have to fight for it. And for me, that was the one thing that they instilled in me, that you control where you eventually end up. So you have to try and make sure that you apply yourself as much as you possibly can. I mean, I have 3 older brothers.
Okay.
For me, I could being the youngest in the family, I'm the only one born in the UK with a UK passport.
Yeah.
And that has been the biggest gift for me.
That opens so many doors.
Having a UK passport. It means that I have access to opportunities that my brothers don't have.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I went back when I was 18, I was like, well, if I don't try and make the best of the fact that I'm the only one in the family with a British passport, I'm cheating my brothers because they would love to have what I have. And that really has been the driving force, and really telling myself, look, you don't have to be a byproduct of your environment. It's okay to aspire and dream to get to further and much, much better places.
You know, it's fascinating how our lives are quite similar. Now, talking about British passport. So, Colombian passport is not the best to have. Like, you have to get so many visas to go anywhere, and you have to study. That's another thing that probably similar to Nigeria. You have to study masters and all of that in order to get somewhere to study something else. So you want to go to UK or Canada, Australia, you have to have a master degree or a bachelor degree so you can go start study something. So for me also, I was very lucky, right? I got my passport after 5 years to be in the UK. But obviously I got married to my wife and everything was, but back there, it was basing also how fast you managed to get the stuff done. And I did it really fast. So since I arrived, and after 5 years, I was UK citizen. I went like all in, and my wife said, why are we doing? I said, we have to do it because it will open so many doors for us. Yeah. And now it's funny because she keeps joking about this. You just marry me for the passport, right? But then when we moved here and I got the golden visa, I said, you haven't divorced me because of the golden visa. And she laughed. So yeah, it's the UK passport opens so many possibilities for everybody. But now we have to keep moving, right?
Yeah.
And now talking about keep moving, let's talk about money habits, because money habit is something that I would say more than 95% of people have bad habits. What's the number one habit people get wrong? The habit that always destroys the financial potential.
Okay. I'll speak from personal experience and from my observations. Personal experience is not really understanding what you're earning your money for. And then comparing yourself to the neighbor next door. This is rife in the Western world, certainly in the UK. You can go on a street in the UK, and if one neighbor gets a new car, someone else has to get a new car because you're in competition with each other. Yeah. And I think that that's completely counterproductive. Even me personally, when I was much, much younger, I would always compare myself to my friends. So what have they bought? If they bought, a new pair of trainers, I need to have a new pair of trainers. If they bought a new jacket, I need to have a new pair of jacket. And what that does is it means that you cultivate a spending habit that isn't tailored to you and what you want. And I think the biggest thing a lot of people miss is, what do you want the money to do? Money is a tool at the end of the day. Yeah. Like, you've moved to Dubai, I've moved to Dubai. The purpose for money for me now is so that I can live a life where I don't have financial pressures and I can do things out of choice. Yeah. It's taken years for me to get to this realization. And so now I'm very intentional around what I spend money on, where I want money to go. And I think people make that realization too late. And they're fueled by other people and the environment around them to dictate how they spend money.
Before we carry on, I want to take a moment to thank Pepperstone for supporting the OGs. Pepperstone has been a trusted name in trading since 2010, giving traders around the world access to global markets with tight spreads, fast execution, and professional platforms like MetaTrader, CTrader, and TradingView. What stands out about Pepperstone is their commitment to transparency, regulation, and excellence, quality that align perfectly with what we value here at the OGs. So to our partners at Pepperstone, thank you for believing in this community and for empowering traders to push the boundaries of what's possible. Now, let's get back to it. So probably this will go viral in the UK, I hope so. But something that I did in the UK for probably 2-3 years, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. So I was living in a normal house, rented, like the rent was £1,000 a month. So, and then I had a normal car. And then I take the kids to school wearing normal clothes. For 2 years, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. They didn't know I was partnering with the biggest exchange in the world, traveling the world. I didn't tell anybody in my inner circle. Only my wife and my family-in-law knew what was my real profession, right? Everybody was asking me, hey, what do you do for a living? I said, just marketing. And then there was one point, I won't mention the names or the teams because there's so many, but one football team, very famous, that the owners are in Abu Dhabi, so you probably know which one.
Yeah.
So I went to visit the coach, like the main general, the main coach. This person's super famous. And then I took a picture with him. I went back to the UK, and then I told my son, hey, look, I met this guy. The guy is super famous, right? He coached the biggest team in the world. That's Blue. You probably know which one.
I know.
And
they're my rivals.
Yes. And then he told all his friends, yeah, my daddy met this guy. And his friend didn't believe him. Because I told him, don't tell anybody what I do. Because they wouldn't believe I was in the F1 and all of this. And I meet billionaires. They wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
So that day, he came like upset, said, Daddy, why I cannot tell people what I do for living? Like, what do you do for a living? I said, because it's quite complicated. And he didn't understand it. He understands it now. And then I said, you know what? Tell them, show and tell that you were with your daddy's friend. And then I took him to the stadium and he met all the football players. But that, in the UK, that was my biggest frustration. No, it's not about showing off or telling, hey, I have good job or I'm making good move in life. But Colombian guy living in the UK, working with crypto, it wouldn't be taken like in a good way, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I had to like lower down. I have a normal car. And actually I like that. I like those 3 years of my life.
Yeah. Being inconspicuous.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that right there is, I think, one of the things that I would like to see more of.
Yes.
There is too much showiness on social media and generally in life now. It's showing off or doing something and almost broadcasting what you're doing. Like, the people who do real things do them silently because they don't have to shout and brag about it. That's what I've always found during my career with wealthy people that I've met, wealthy people that I've been, I've advised for. They don't necessarily have to talk about what they're doing because they're not doing it for public recognition. Well, I think, especially with social media now, it's about showing this and showing that, and just why? Like, you're attracting the wrong type of attention.
That's the answer. Attracting the wrong type of attention. Now, we're going to talk about Pepperstone and trading, but you just mentioned something very important: attracting the wrong type of attention. So what happened is in trading, general crypto, CFDs, whatever, right? Forex, gold. What is being happening the last, let's say 10 years? Content creators, traders, let's say they're traders, they sell a dream. They sell the dream like, hey, you have to get a Lambo, you have to have a Rolex. So they go in any country and drive the Lambo, the Rolex, and say, sign for my course and deposit this money here. But I think so. In Latin America, that's a big issue happening right now. Most of the people that make most money is because they sell the courses.
Yes.
And now brokers and exchanges realize that it's good for business at the beginning, but it's not sustainable over time.
Long term, yeah.
So the whole narrative changing. Now it's education is the most important thing. For example, I will never lie. I say, hey, I made X amount of money in a trade, and I will never post a Lambo. Even if I have or not a Lambo, I will never post it. And I think so that's why we're looking also with Pepperstone. With Pepperstone, we're trying to bring the right educators, the right traders. I will never tell anybody, look, I'm trading every day. Actually, in fact, I'm going to start to create a series of clips or videos about my friends traders helping me how to understand Forex, because I understand Forex, I understand crypto. So I think so if we are more intentional about our content, it will be better. Now, let's talk about discipline and trading, because Pepperstone emphasizes discipline. You have to be very disciplined in trading. In your experience, what's the real difference between someone who became financially stable and someone who keeps repeating the same cycles?
Look, everything you just said, though, I can echo on, because every time I speak to people and institutions in the financial space, I talk about education being first. I think the biggest mistake that people often, or things that they don't necessarily realize, is that being financially stable, whether you're investing, building wealth, whatever it might be, there's one big thing you have to overcome, and that's this. Mindset is, it dictates, it steers you. And I think a lot of the time with markets, investing, trading, people don't necessarily understand how much influence mindset and understanding, it's all psychology. It's behavioral psychology. If you're looking at a trade and it's down, what do? You have to have discipline, not to be like, oh, I'm going to cash this in, and then you start to chase your losses. That's a psychological thing. So understanding how do you behave naturally, then putting mechanisms in place to ensure that your natural inclination psychologically doesn't just run away with it. I see it in investing all the time. Stocks down this much, and it's like, okay, but you're holding it for the long term. So what does it mean for the long-term picture? If you're going on a 100-mile run and you trip over in the first half a mile, are you just going to be like, oh no, I'm going to stop and go back home? No, you pick yourself up and you just continue to your target. And I think it's the same. Mindset is huge, and I think people underestimate that. But whenever you speak about mindset and psychology, it's not sexy enough on social media these days.
It's not, but it was not sexy anymore. It wasn't sexy, but then I think so people start to like it now.
I would love to see more of the psychological conversations happen on social media, because honestly, it's the biggest factor. If you can capture that, your route to making more money, either in investing or trading, becomes shorter because you can control the key instigator in your decision-making process. And that's a really big element.
You know what happened to me like 6 weeks ago, talking about the education or something that is very attractive to people. So I was talking to a 20 years old meme trader. He went from, obviously this is not financial advice, but he did it. He went from $1,000 to $200,000 in a meme trade.
Wow.
Now, how he did it, he has his techniques. All of these guys, it's funny enough, but they've been playing Fortnite for a long time, and they use this pattern at so many displays, and they start to put the sniping bots, and they're really fast, these kids. And then I told him, brother, what do you think about these content creators? So I start to bring the best content creators in crypto in the world. They have 1, 2, 3 million followers, but they're very educational. I say, boring. No, boring. I won't watch it. And he said, I'd rather to watch a 15 seconds clip or something doing fun or something that get my attention. And I said, why? Because that's how we live. We live in attention really short. I'm not going to watch an old guy. He said, I'm not going to watch an old guy in his 50s talking about a stable coin. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So that's where we live right now.
Yeah.
The kids, they want something that's attractive and stuff. But I think so in the long term, we're going to go from the millennials and the new generation is going to merge together. And at one point they say, okay, we need to get deeper. We need to get educated ourselves. And then they will understand it even more. Now, talking about understanding and coach and teaching people, because this kid actually came to me and said, hey, can you help me? Because I have so much money, I don't know what to do with it. I said, what? So they made so much money and they want to, basically put it somewhere else, right? And then you have done that. You have coached a lot of people in finance. So what something that's very uncomfortable truth about money that most people simply refuse to accept?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think for me, at least in my observations when I coach people, it's something that I spoke about earlier, but ties onto a second thing. Understanding, okay, if you've made all this money or you want to make money, what are you doing it for? What's the purpose?
The purpose.
What's the purpose? Okay. It's okay to have £1 million or whatever in the bank, but what are you going to do with it? Why do you have it there? What can it enable you to do? People have a distinct lack of understanding of what that is. And the second thing, which I've seen a lot, is people just not really understanding the whole budget. You've got this much. Don't go spend this much on something absolutely ridiculous just because you have an emotional trigger that you need to satisfy. Those two things for me have been something that I've observed over the past, certainly 5 years creating content and coaching, and definitely through my career as a financial advisor, mortgage advisor across the last 18 years. Just a lack of control over what you've got and how you spend it, how you utilize it.
So I've seen this pattern, especially with people in crypto. People make so much money really fast and lose it really fast. I've been there myself. I make a lot of money and lost everything. Now, in my case, for example, I've been entrepreneur for 10 years, but something that triggered in the back of my mind is like, I always hope for the best, right? I hope the best, and then I say, and this is something that I think so Grant Cardone always say, like, you don't go and like save in the Starbucks, you just had to find a way to make more money. But I think so in one point, yeah, you can make more money. Like, don't take me wrong, I have seen it before, like I have to pay for something and there's one day left and I managed to find 5 figures to pay for everything. That's the life of an entrepreneur. But sometimes that depends on the time of the year or the time of the cycle of the economy, it bite you back, right? I've seen that with so many people.
Yeah.
And that happened also in the UAE. People come here and then they realize that they have to budget their money because it's not the life like in the UK or Canada or Europe. Here you have to pay the rent up front. The schools, you have to pay up. Everything is up front, which I like that from the UAE because it made you like more responsible. So you're not responsible, you have to get out. So what do you think about that part? Like when people move here, and especially now you're coaching people, what advice would you give to everybody that just move here? Because I realized that myself after 1 year, I say, I wish I didn't do this. You just have to go out, always sitting out, and then you realize, okay, there's no holidays anymore. What advice you will give to people that just move here?
I think ultimately you need to sit down with your finance and know exactly what you have. Because, it's not cheap moving here. People tend to spend tens of thousands of pounds to come here. And the idea of you got to pay rent up front is like, that doesn't happen in the UK. It's monthly. And I tell people, they're like, what? And it's like, you need, and my advice to people is generally speaking, like, try and ensure that you have some kind of financial buffer for like emergencies or for particular expenses. That for me has been the main thing that has transformed my finances completely. Just knowing that there's a financial buffer there that if anything were to happen, if one of us can't work or I can't work, I can afford to take time off. There's a lot of talk about building wealth, but what does that actually mean for a lot of people? I don't believe that it's necessarily a number in the bank. I think wealth is essentially this peace of mind to know that if I want to take a month off, I can take a month off and the world is not going to stop because I've got to pay bills.
Yeah.
And having that financial buffer there to give you that sense of stability. Stability comes before security and definitely comes before wealth and creation of wealth. And I think that's one of the key things for people certainly moving here, just to be mindful of that you need to have a financial buffer at all times to cover your bills and planning ahead.
I was watching, it was on Instagram or Twitter, I was watching this, it was on text. This content creator said, there's this guy that gets 40,000 dirhams a month in salary, just talking about salary. He lives in Dubai Hills and drives an expensive car, and then he go out, right? And then doesn't have much money for the next month. And there's another guy that lives in another part of the city, let's say Deira or Sharjah, whatever, the cheaper the rent. And then he'll drive a Toyota Prius, whatever. And then he's sending 20,000 dirhams a month every month back home to build something. So they say, just choose what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And that click in my head, I say, wow.
It's very, very true. I mean, I say this to people all the time. And I coach very well. People earn good money. And it's like, at the end of the day, you can have a £20,000 a month income. If you're spending it all, you're broke. Simple fact.
Or there's somebody maybe making 5K a month, but it's not broke.
Exactly. So the key is, if you're earning 20,000 a month, what do you need to survive? And map out the things that you want to do. If you want to go out and you want to enjoy meals out, have some money set aside for that. But how much of it are you going to perhaps set aside for a financial buffer or for, I would love to do this in the future, or I want to start investing for my kids, whatever it might be. having a plan for what that actually looks like, in opposed to just, I've got 20,000 pounds or dirhams per month that I have coming in, I'm just going to spend it all because there is no plan. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I think people often forget, and I've been there where, when I first started in Canary Wharf and started to get promotions, I'm a kid who was homeless to start earning £120,000 a year.
Wow.
I done the mad stuff. I went and bought £1,000 boots, Giuseppe boots, and, £1,000 suits. I did all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, money comes and goes. It doesn't always last forever.
It never lasts forever.
And I think sometimes people forget that. So it's like, and one of my managers had to say to me, like, what are you doing?
Back there?
Yeah, like, what are you
doing? You were
doing?
spending £1,000 in a suit.
I was the best dressed guy on the floor. To my suit, my pinstripe, to the lapel pin, to the tie, everything, like little accents to match. Because for me, I was a black guy in Canary Wharf without a university degree, surrounded by majority white people, university degrees, oftentimes Eton boys, Oxford boys. For me, I was like, okay, first impressions are important. So when you meet me, I'm in a killer suit. So you look at me and think, oh, that's a nice suit. Let's see what he has to say. Yeah. So when I speak, and I always made a point of speaking when I had something very important to say, it was a way for me to kind of give a very good first impression. Okay. And so I invested a lot into that in terms of how I look.
Do you still having those suits somewhere? Some of them.
Some of them I do. A lot of them I've just gotten rid of.
We were talking about like also how, and I like that from the UAE. I like a lot that from the UAE. The real wealth here, the locals and stuff, they don't appreciate people that just come and show off in cars or in trending clothes and stuff. And we're talking, most of the people right now that I get to know now, I think it's also because I'm attracting this kind of person like you, is everybody wearing Zara, no brands, nothing.
Yeah,
you can have like a good belt that lasts forever or a good pair of shoes, but clothes, they don't need to be like $10,000.
I also think that, once you get to the point where you can afford certain things, you don't really want them.
Yeah.
Because this is a really weird dichotomy almost. Like, and this is one of the things that I've learned coming up, is that when I didn't have any money, I would see things like, I wish I could have that. I want to, then you start to aspire to that thing. But the minute you can buy it, after you've had the initial splurge of like, oh my God, I can afford to buy this thing, you start to realize, well, actually, do I really want to pay money for this?
Yeah.
I don't think I do. And that's actually quite sobering, because it breaks the myth of what you think it would be like when you get to a certain stage. And you realize, well, actually, it's only a material thing. It will make you feel good for a period of time.
For 2 days.
For 2 days. But then I used to get buyer's remorse. Like, I'd go and buy a suit for £1,000. I know it's for work, or I'd buy trainers for like...
That's what the excuse is, for work. It's an investment.
Exactly. Or I'd buy trainers, £700 trainers. And I'm like, these things are uncomfortable, actually. They're not great to walk in.
Yes.
And I've bought these things and I've spent £700 on them. And I'm like, why?
And now everybody's buying New Balance, OC, the one that are more comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something that it gets us together. It's markets, trading, wealth education. So we were talking, we're not traditional traders, but you deeply understand personal finance. What's your own view on retail trading? And is a path to wealth, or just another psychological trap?
I think it's definitely a path to wealth, for sure. Because I know people who trade and they do that very, very successfully. I think, again, in the social media age, it can be a bit of a trap because of the way it's portrayed often. Yeah. With Lamborghinis and Louis Vuitton belts and Rolexes and all these things. And I get that, on social media, you have to grab attention, but you've got to understand that there is a consequence to leading with those types of things. And I think what typically happens, and even in the world of investing, people will start to follow certain things because they think it's a quick fix. And oftentimes it's not. Like trading, you have to understand what you're doing. You have to understand the psychological part to it. You have to understand what it actually means day to day to trade and to actually be profitable, and then how to manage your profits off the back of that, how to feed that into your personal thing. So I think it is definitely a path to wealth, but there are still psychological traps that sit behind, I guess, the acquisition of being exposed to it. And for me, I don't do flashy content at all, because for what I do, I like to think of myself as an educator.
Yeah.
Talking about I've moved to Dubai, or I can drive a Lamborghini, or whatever it might be, it's not going to attract the right kind of person. And for me, I want to attract the right kind of person so I can share the things that have changed my life from a financial point of view and impart that onto them. And I think, in the social media age, that's very, very important, because as influencers, particularly in the money space, we have a lot of power because people listen and pay attention.
They say that the most well-paid content creators are the finance content creators and crypto content creators. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But now also the best ones are the streamers. The streamers are getting so much deals and stuff there. I think that will be the new wave of content creators. But of course, they're not going to speak about financial education or Forex yet. But we'll see. Yeah. I'm talking about being fast. Forex is fast, emotional, and it's brutally honest. The truth is true. Like, if you win, you win. You lose, you lose. Mm-hmm. Do you think retail traders underestimate the emotional discipline required to survive, let alone succeed?
100%. I mean, the emotional side to it is everything. If you can't regulate the emotional, psychological side, I think it's a losing battle, because you can make a load of money, but how are you going to control how you feel? And it's also, you've got to think about confirmation biases and all the biases that exist around that as well on the psychological level. I think spending the time to really understand that will only optimize and increase the results that you get. Mm-hmm. But again, it's not something that I think is sexy enough where people necessarily think, okay, this is a big portion of what I should be paying attention to.
You're right. Now, I'm talking about being biased and unbiased, or paying attention to something. We were talking about AI, about content creation, right? But also, there's AI in trading right now, right? So as AI and automation enter trading at full speed as well, what do you think will matter more in the next 10 years? Human intuition or machine efficiency?
I think I could be wrong here, and this is where people will be like, you're wrong, Pete, and I'm happy to debate this. But I still think, regardless of how good AI gets, you still need human intuition. Yeah. For sure. Because I see it in what I do right now, in the fact that AI is, for all intents and purposes, still in its infancy. So it's not quite there yet at that point where it's smarter than human beings. A lot of it is learning from responses and inputs. But even in what I do, I notice, actually, that's wrong. And then when you challenge the AI, it says, oh yeah, you are correct. Let me double check that. So you need to know that actually, if it's feeding you something, that's not quite right. Because either there's a knowledge base there's a skill set, there's an intuition there for you to question it. I think that's going to be really, really important. So I think you're going to need a human element to try and oversee the AI inputs and the AI outputs to ensure that, okay, does this make sense from what your understanding and skill set is? And I don't think that AI is going to be able to replace that human intuition. Human intuition is, I don't know, sometimes it's inexplicable. You just know, now hang on a second, it's not right. Yeah. And I think if I look at my life, gut feel always wins sometimes.
There is no code for that. There is no an algorithm for intuition yet. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Now, something that probably when this episode goes live, something that we're going to start to do is workshop of how to trade. So we're going to buy traders to the workshop every 2 weeks here in the UAE. That we start from financial literacy, education, etc. We would like to invite you to obviously be one of our speakers. And then what we're doing this with Pepperstone, because I believe people need to understand that Forex trading, all of this is a long path. Mm-hmm. You need to learn, and you're not going to start from zero to hero in 1 month. Mm-hmm. Something that happened to me, I will say 2008, I went to a Forex
2008
Forex convention. I was too young. I didn't understand. I thought it was a scam. Forex was a scam and all of that because I didn't understand it. we didn't have access to all the information that we have now, that you can go and apply and open an account and then watch some videos and just give a go and have a demo account. I was thinking, if I just went and I had the right resources back then, I was 24, now I'm 41. Imagine if I start to apply all of that, that, for example, that a company like Pepperstone can give education and support, where it will be right now.
Yeah.
I would have helped not only me and my family, if not a lot of people that want to learn. So that's why we're trying to, what we're doing with Pepperstone, we start to do workshop about education, not about becoming rich from in 1 month. It's about how you educate yourself with the markets, financial freedom, wealth, and just the right tools to get in the right path from here to 5 years. Because everybody's talking about there's a crisis coming, there is a bubble and all of that. But there's always winners in the crisis.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is one of the things. I mean, I'm not necessarily a trader. I talk about the investment markets, and it's like the whole thing around the AI bubble right now. It's like, that is a huge opportunity. Where do you think the likes of Warren Buffett and Peter Thiel and all of these big legendary investors, where do you think they make all of the money? They are waiting for a bubble to burst, because when values come down, you buy more, and as it resurges, you make a ton of money. But again, this is where the psychological part of it, exists. Do you understand that actually the bubble is the opportunity? The burst of the bubble is the opportunity. Are you prepared? Have you been prepared in the run-up with your finances to make sure that you've got a big pot of money, so that when that happens, you can go and buy the select things or trade the select things to help you get more wealth and build wealth in that transition? This is where education is so important.
But let me just ask you a question about this, because that's when people that don't have money or education get it wrong. Like, out of desperation, there is a crisis, right? And then everything goes down. And people say, I need to go and buy something. I have only $100. What shall I buy? And then start to see those ads about put here your money, invest, crypto, gold, forex. What would you tell everybody? Look, you don't have enough money to invest. Yeah, the crisis is here. What do you tell somebody like a normal person, not Warren Buffett, one of these guys, what to do when there is a bubble that explodes, there is opportunity, but they don't have enough cash? What they should do instead?
Well, I would still say to them, look, if you've got this $100 and you're happy to just leave it to run, invest it anyway, trade it anyway.
You leave it there.
But leave it. Forget that it's there. Put it into something. It won't necessarily, give you a 10x result like if you had 10,000, but at least it gets you started. And then you have to understand, okay, what's going on? Because look, there are always bubbles, right? The markets are cyclical. You're always going to have boom, you're always going to have bust. So I always say to people is this, like, this is not the last time this is going to happen.
It's going to happen again.
So if you're in a position at the minute where you can't capitalize right now, you need to make sure that you're in a position where you can capitalize the next time this happens, because it will happen. But you just need to be prepared and make sure that you've got the principles behind you, financial buffer, all this kind of stuff that we've spoken about, to ensure that when it happens again, you can pounce. And you would have learned a lot between now and then to give you the experience and the knowledge to know exactly what to do.
It takes just people are chasing glitter most of the time. They think that the next thing is going to take 1-2 years, but it takes like 4, even up to 10 years to get to the right cycle in their lives. Now, let's talk about this. So you said before that, I'm talking about 4 or 10 years, money changed people. They're enhanced, right? Like enhanced if it's good or bad person, right? But you say before that money reveals who people really are. Do you believe most people actually want wealth, or they just want the idea of wealth and being like, oh, look at me, I have money?
This is a great question. I think that people are enamored by the idea of wealth. I think people love the idea of, I'm wealthy, I have this amount of money. I think, though, that if we look at base human instincts and base human needs, I think people just want to be in a place financially where if they didn't have the ability to work for 6 months or a year,
they can relax.
They can just be like, it doesn't matter. I want to go on holiday with my kids twice a year to do this or to do that. I've got enough money to be able to do that. That isn't always 10 million, 20 million in the bank. And I think there is a huge disconnect between people's understanding of what that number or that sum of money is for them and what they want. And I think that's the key thing. There's a lot at the moment about, having this much and Elon's going to be the first trillionaire on the planet. People aspire to that, which is fantastic. Aspire to it. But along your journey, understand at what point gives you the stability, that financial peace of mind to know, okay, I'm here now. Because once you get there, actually, you could make decisions that can help you accelerate your wealth journey.
Yeah.
But you can't do it if you're worried about paying bills. You can't do it if you're under financial pressure. So getting to that place of stability, I think, is really the stepping stone.
You know something that I won't mention his name again, but it's an acquaintance of mine. We're friends, but not too close. But this person in a conference, he said, like, once you reach $50 million and above, it's the same. But he's probably one of the wealthiest person in the world. Like he owns one of the biggest exchanges of crypto in the world. So you imagine who this person is. But he said that more than $15 million, the life will be the same. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But then also that happened to entrepreneurs, business owners, and people that are driven. I don't think even if we have X amount of money, we want to stop for 6 months.
I think that's all down to personalities. I mean, I'm the kind of person, I have to be doing something. I cannot sit down for 2 weeks and just do nothing. I can't do it. I cannot do it.
Just exercise, breakfast, walks, no?
No.
I
have to, I don't know whether it's my upbringing, but I have to do something.
Yeah.
Luckily, I do what I really enjoy. It gives me purpose to be able to educate people and get feedback for my book, for example, where people say, oh, your book was amazing. I picked up this and I picked up that. That's purpose for me. And I'm blessed to be in a position where I can do something that I love. It doesn't feel like work, but I have to be doing something. And I think there's a huge class of people who are like that, where it doesn't matter if you've got 20 billion in the bank. You've got to be doing something, because otherwise, like, you need purpose when you wake up in the morning. I mean, if you don't have a purpose, what's the point? That's
true, but it's good also to have a slow morning.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good purpose. Now, the self-help industry tells people they can manifest success. Like the self-development and all of this. But you live the grind. What you take, manifestation or hard work?
You can't have manifestation without hard work. If I'm completely honest, from when I was 6 years old, I manifested getting back to the UK. So in Nigeria, where we lived, it was under the flight path. So I used to see British Airways flights landing every single day. And I finished school at 16, 17. For like a year, maybe 2 years, I was visualizing myself getting back on that plane, getting back to the UK. And I visualized working in Canary Wharf.
Oh, wow.
I visualized the whole thing. I was doing music back then, producing. And we had a studio in London. My friend lived in Bermondsey. So from Bermondsey, you can see Canary Wharf, Canada Water, sorry. You can see Canary Wharf. We used to walk around and I'm like, I just got my first job in retail banking. I want to work here someday, because when you walk around there during the week, it's like you see people in suits and you're like
on their phones and going to lunches.
You're like, if you work here, you've made it. So I visualized and manifested that, but you need hard work to pull it through. You can visualize everything you want, but if you're not willing to put the work in, there's no point. People believe that if you think positively, it will just come to you. You create your own luck at the end of the day. You have to be willing to do the hard yards.
Because maybe we come from humble backgrounds and they tell us, hey, don't put yourself out there. Don't mention that you're going to do this. Don't mention that you are better. But something that happened to me manifestation, when I was 18, I wrote a letter saying I would like to live in Europe. I would say Swedish or something. I'm being married with a German girl. I don't know. I just wrote something, being a mechanical engineer. I wrote that. But then after 6 years, I was living in the UK, got married to my English wife, and I was working in telecommunications. So it's powerful. But something that I did recently, 4 years ago, I started in this content creation world. I have the influencer marketing agency in Colombia, and I didn't tend to be a content creator or influencer. And then I jumped in a call one day with two Colombians. I remember we were talking about business. And they said to me, what do you want to achieve? And I just say, just for saying it out loud, said, I want to become the #1 content creator of crypto from Latin America. I just say it. And then fast forward, if you search who is the #1 crypto content creator in the UAE, my name appears. I work obviously for this, going to events and doing all this content. And I just got the Untold Festival, the Web3 Educator of the Year award.
Wow.
So it helps. I just say it loud, and I think it helps. But that mindset sometimes for parents say, hey, don't put yourself out there, don't be pretentious. That's
It's
a little bit.
Look, the mind is so powerful. I believe that if you can paint it and you can visualize it enough to the point that you can almost feel it, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's something that, I use as when I do coaching with people. It's one of the exercises that I take people through. Like, okay, what do you want? What do you want to achieve in the next 2 years? For a lot of people, it's I want to buy my first home. Okay.
The home, yeah.
So tell me about the home. Is it a flat? Is it an apartment? What is it? Is it a house? Tell me. Is it 2 beds, 3 beds?
How it looks like? What color?
What does it look like? How big is the garden? What kind of kitchen do you have? What colors are the wall? Like visualize it, because
Properly.
ultimately the reason why that's so important is because when you look at behavioral psychology, intrinsic, extrinsic motivations, that is an intrinsic motivation. It's something that really means something to you. In the instance where people are trying to save for a deposit for a house now and it's becoming a big goal, you're gonna have to do something that you don't want to do. That's going to be painful, and you might look at it and be like, I don't want to do this, but remember the house.
Yes.
Remember the kitchen. Remember how big the garden is. Remember what it's going to be like when you have your kids in the garden, your kids playing in the garden. That makes it worthwhile doing something that's painful in the short term to achieve. So you're anchoring someone into something that really means something to them. Mm-hmm. It's huge. It's massive. It's a real big motivator.
Now, let me ask you something that's going to be probably controversial, but regarding the houses, in the UK, it's too difficult to get a house. Mm-hmm. That was the boomer generation. They want to get a house. Mm-hmm. And now most of the people can afford a house right now. They're moving back with their parents and all of that. But obviously, investing in house in the UAE is more profitable, is better. But then you have somebody like Pavel Durov. Listen to this. Pavel Durov from Telegram. He said he doesn't want to be attached to anything. So he's billionaire, but he doesn't have a house. He travels a lot. What do you think about people like that? Like they don't want to be Elon Musk as well. He lives next to the SpaceX in a little house. What do you think about this mindset of people that has so much liquid assets and so much cash, but they don't want to buy something physical?
I think it's fantastic for them because they're billionaires. I think certainly for the audience that I tend to attract, it's, there's a lot of this stuff on social media now. And I think you have to look at things from your own personal perspective. If you're a billionaire, you don't want to own property, you've got assets, you've got cash assets, which means that if you change your mind tomorrow, you can go and buy a ridiculous property. Yeah. Whereas normal people aren't necessarily in that phase of life. And I think you've got to take these things with a pinch of salt. I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to be tied down with a mortgage, which is completely fine. What you need to be able to do, though, is to make sure that amongst you crafting the life that you want of freedom, where you can be location agnostic, you can travel the world, make sure that you've got financial resources, assets as your underpinning. Because ultimately, you're going to need it at some point because you need money to survive. So if you're able to generate, as much of that financial asset as you possibly can, that's going to be your security that will give you choices.
And now talking about, obviously, Pavel Durov is not an influencer, but he's a people that influence, right? Now let's talk about finance influencers. Many influencers today give financial advice without any real background. Is this empowering the next generation or misleading them in a dangerous way?
people ask me this question and my response people don't like. But look, for me personally, depending on what you're talking about, I think having a background is important.
Mm-hmm.
So I work predominantly and have worked predominantly in the investment markets. I have a qualification as a financial advisor. So I've actually advised people on, investment portfolios, all this kind of stuff. I think having the experience and the knowledge is important because things are nuanced. And often the devil is in the detail. There are lots of people who don't have qualifications who will talk about investing, and it's okay to share your own experience of your own lessons that you've learned, but I think it's important to frame it correctly. Because the amount of times that I see things on social media where it's like, if you had the qualification, you'll know that that's not correct. And people just assume that if you make a blanket statement, that blanket statement applies to everyone. It doesn't. Even in financial advice, the advice is different according to the person, because the circumstances are different. So what might fit for you won't fit for me, and vice versa. But I think, having qualifications, having experience is important. I think it helps you stand out. For me, at least, it helps me stand out. I do long form content because I think it's important for me to be able to showcase the nuance and the reason behind some of the things that you talk about. So if we're talking about investing in this, what's the reason behind it? What are the nuances behind it? Whereas with short form, you could chat GPT it and just, just recite a script. So I think the nuance is important, but I do think it's also important to have people who don't have a background, who are learning on their own, to show that you don't need to have a massive knowledge base to take the first step. So there's a bit of a balance there. And I think for the audience, it's just understanding and being discerning around, okay, what am I listening to? And, perhaps paying attention to both sides, because you might want the nuanced element, but you like that this person's in the exact same position as you.
That you are.
That actually I can relate to that, but I've got a little bit more nuance over here that might help me in the journey. And I think you need a bit of both.
You need a bit of both. Now, obviously with Pepperstone, we're helping the new generation of traders to understand what is financial freedom, what is trading, how to trade responsible. But something that probably you have heard a lot is, and this is as a closing statement, I wanted you to give your best advice to everybody, traders, not traders, whatever. So someone who is overwhelmed with debt, right? Fear of financial pressure. That happened, especially right now, how the market is. What is the first mental move they must take to change their lives?
I think it's really, really important to be aware of the situation that you're in right now, the position you're in right now, and where you actually want to be. I think understanding that is very, very important, and just understanding that the first responsibility that you have to yourself is protecting your present and where you are right now. So we talked about financial buffers, having a little bit of cash around you to give you that sense of stability and security. That's ultimately important because it will give you the confidence to be able to, maybe take a little bit more risk than you would have normally and not act out of maybe a little bit of desperation, financial pressure. It's never good making financial decisions when you're under financial pressure. It's very, very hard then to be balanced in your view. People make better decisions, in my experience, when you don't necessarily have the financial buffer, the financial pressure, because you're not in need necessarily. You can look at things for what they are and make a decision that is dispassionate almost. Whereas if you're under financial pressure, I need this thing. I need this to happen. You might over leverage, you might overextend, and that's not necessarily where you want to be. So understand your situation right now, where you want to be, and how you can protect your present situation so you can make better decisions.
Always protect this moment, right?
Absolutely.
So we have an amazing guest today. We learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
I hope we can do more stuff with Pepperstone and all your community. I think so people need more Peters in the world.
Thanks.
To teach them how to manage their finance with the right tools as well. Peter, thank you so much for coming for the
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And I'll see you in the next episode.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.